Hi guys, Geechu64 here, and today we are going to take a look at Aquaman. And I will be the first to tell you that I was not looking forward to this one. DC has eroded all of my goodwill over the last few years. Just check out this clip from the beginning of the year in which I was talking about my most anticipated movies. Aquaman was not positive.
Aquaman may surprise me, but I know better than to get my hopes up for any DC movies at this point.
But you know what? I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. I hope you guys are ready for the truth.
Oh, geek.
True. 64.
Geek. Truth.
Geek. Drown. 6-4. Oh, shit.
It is no secret that Aquaman has been a joke to the mainstream for a very, very long time, and you can thank Super Friends for much of that. However, Jeff Johns' run on the New 52 really gave Aquaman a lot of his dignity back. The first issue had everyone making fun of him, but it ended up with this scene. Aquaman commands the Meg. Man. Then they cast Khal Drogo as Aquaman. The guy looked nothing like Aquaman, but he looked badass and sounded like Thor as a surfer bro. The idea was clearly to change the public perception of Aquaman, who is seen as a reject from Captain Planet.
Every day, nearly 1 million pounds of plastic trash is carelessly thrown into our oceans and rivers.
Thousands of animals die as a result.
And with that little bit of background, let's look at this movie, Aquaman. Let's start with the performances. As I said, Jason Momoa plays this version of Aquaman as a surfer bro. And while he is a hero, he doesn't really accept that title, and he also doesn't accept the title of king. So he's a very reluctant character who really just wants to have a few drinks at the pub and save the occasional sailor who's in distress. And he brings a lot of charisma to the role. Charisma is something that is missing from a lot of performances this year. So I would say that is the best thing that Momoa brings to the role of Aquaman. And there is a great cast of supporting characters as well. Tamara Morrison and Nicole Kidman play important roles as Aquaman's parents. They are the ones who introduce us to this world and are played very well by both Kidman and Morrison. They use some pretty solid de-aging technology, which has been used more and more over the last few years with some mixed results. But I think in this one, the de-aging worked pretty well. Amber Heard plays Mera, and I have a major crush on this character. I'm not gonna lie. I guess it's like Aquaman says.
Redheads! You gotta love them!
One thing that I noticed right away is that this is not the version of Mera that appeared in that short scene in Justice League. So DC's already begun rewriting its past, and I honestly don't have a problem with that because, as I said, I'm not a fan of the DCEU. Man of Steel wasn't too bad, but it was a very divisive movie. Batman v Superman was a mess of a film. Suicide Squad was a feature-length music video. Wonder Woman was really good, but it wasn't very original. Justice League was a mashup of nonsense, and I absolutely hate Ezra Miller as the Flash. He's terrible. So, in a way, Aquaman is kind of a do-over for the DCU. Aquaman is DC's version of Iron Man, like a B or C list superhero that surprises us all with a solid film. And the world building in this is awesome. They take a lot of time to build up this lost civilization, introduce a lot of mythology to all of it. Good world building is an essential part of immersion, making us feel like there are stories within a story that you're watching. It all builds a history to what you're seeing. It creates an epic feel to everything that's happening. I would point to Lord of the Rings, for example, for this. Not that Aquaman is in the same league as the Lord of the Rings films, but it does take a page from that book by making world building an essential part of the story. The story itself isn't anything new. It is somewhat new to the superhero genre, I guess, but all in all, it isn't anything that you haven't seen before. I got bits of Avatar in here, Tron Legacy and Iron Man in here. Oddly enough, The Mummy with Brendan Fraser is in here. It's kind of a mishmash stew of other movies, but it works together well enough to keep the whole thing at a pretty consistent pace. There are a few scenes I would take out, such as Arthur as a kid being picked on at the aquarium. That scene adds nothing to the movie. It's in the trailer, and it doesn't really add anything to anything that you're watching, so I would take that scene out. But overall, it's pretty fast-paced, which isn't all that shocking because director James Wan also directed a Fast and Furious movie. And a lot of the greatest things in this would have to be owed to James Wan's vision. Aquaman just goes balls to the wall with everything in here. It commits to the craziness. There is a giant octopus playing the drums in this movie, and I'm being 100% serious about this. It's like a Saturday morning cartoon for adults, and it balances out all the insanity with some pretty great action that you actually see what's actually happening. There's no shaky cam in this, and everyone is serious enough to keep you engaged with what's going on but not break the environment that the movie builds. And the effects are crazy awesome. This is on par with Avatar. There's a wide shot in which Mera and Aquaman are diving into the deep. That was just an amazing shot. You have to see that in IMAX. And Atlantis is amazing too. I wanted to see even more of it. That all comes back to the world building. This movie is filled with so much, and you just want to see more of it even after the movie's already over. And I love the color throughout this. One of the things that the DCEU has done is use this desaturation that makes the movies look dull as dishwater. Pardon the aqua pun. But it does. And the mess of a finale in Justice League, it was just this two-tone, like, orange CGI mess. Aquaman, on the other hand, is very colorful, which only makes it more pleasing to the eye, but it also conveys the feeling of the film, which is fun. This is a fun movie. Some of the weaker points are the villain. Patrick Wilson as Ocean Master is great for about half the movie. You kind of get a Loki feel from him. You understand his motivations, and he isn't made to just be like some cold-blooded killer. But as we approach the third act, there's a scene that completely flips all of that on its head, and it comes out of nowhere. And the potential of that character is just thrown out to make the audience hate him going into the third act. It just doesn't fit in with what was established earlier. It was a big missed opportunity. And Black Manta is in this. He basically plays the equivalent of Boba Fett. He isn't really a big part of the movie, and he does feel a bit tacked on. Probably would have been better if they set him up in this movie, but didn't have him appear as Black Manta until another film. But I can't really blame them for like putting him in this, because a sequel is not guaranteed for a movie titled Aquaman. There's a scene, it seems to come out of nowhere, when Black Manta is working on this suit, and it reads just like a complete ripoff of Iron Man. And this is a 2-minute scene, and the only thing it does is serve up a really dumb joke at the end. It's another scene that I would take out. There's a couple scenes that I really wish were out of this movie. There are a lot of one-liners and forced jokes in this movie. Most of them didn't really land for me personally. It kind of feels the need to have constant dialogue where it isn't needed. Letting a scene breathe is becoming a lost art, and this is just another example of that. Also, the music is all over the place. Some of the music I really loved. I was really into the soundtrack. But other times you get these like random lyrical songs, including a terrible cover of Bless the Rains Down in Africa, not by Toto. So to recap things, the casting is great. Jason Momoa brings a lot of charisma. The effects are amazing. You can actually see what is happening in action scenes. Great cinematography, essential world building. The villains weren't handled the best, and there are some strange music choices, but overall Aquaman is a fun, colorful ride that is a must-see on a big screen and revamps the DCEU in a way that I didn't think was possible. For what it is, I would have to give Aquaman 8 drumming octopuses out of 10. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, or don't. I'm not a beggar, I'm Geek364, and I'll always tell you the truth.